Hi, my name is Vander Von Odd. I'm a drag queen, filmmaker, and avid tight lacer. And on behalf of What Katie Did, today I'm going to be answering your questions about corsetry. What are the best corset fabrics for hot days? Now, this is a bit of a tricky question because corsets by nature tend to be a warmer garment. They are pressed up against the body. They're made out of sometimes very thick fabrics because they need to be very, very strong. But that said, there are some styles of corsets that will keep you cooler, albeit with a little bit of a catch. You may have seen mesh corsets or sports mesh corsets on the market, and these are actually pretty great for keeping cool as they are quite literally ventilated. You can see right through them, right? The one catch about mesh corsets is that mesh, although it technically does not stretch, it does have some give to it. And so when a corset has give to it, you do sacrifice some of the shape that it gives you. I find that mesh corsets will oftentimes sort of round out at their highest pressure points. Another thing to consider that there is a woven band inside of most corsets that we call a waist tape. And what the waist tape does, its function, is to give more strength to the center of the corset, the waist, where there is the most amount of tension. Corsets are made out of panels that are sewn vertically all across. And so if you don't have a waist tape, you basically have stitching lines that are at a higher risk of tearing from all of the tension that's being pulled back into the corset. So when you apply a waist tape is basically an unbroken chain of woven fabric. And so because there are no seams or stitching lines in that waist tape, it goes all the way around, it does not stretch, and it gives a lot of strength. Now, how does this tie into mesh corsets? Now, let's pretend that this is a mesh corset, right? It will definitely keep cooler during the summer or during hot climate. And because of the perforations, if there is any sort of wind or breeze, you'll feel that on your skin because it quite literally is perforated all through. So it does help to keep you cooler. The catch about the mesh corset is that it has some give to it. So the ribs will have some give, the hips will have some give, but because there's a waist tape that does not stretch, there will be no give at the waist. So sometimes this can have sort of like a pinching effect on the waist where it almost feels like having a really tight belt on the waist. Now, of course, this isn't necessarily the case for everyone. If someone has a naturally small waist, they won't feel it as much. I myself have a more square or like rectangular torso. I'm kind of straight all the way down. So when I wear a mesh corset, I can definitely feel that waist tape sort of like cutting into me a little bit. But it does stay cooler, so it kind of just depends what you need, what your necessities are, how long are you going to wear it, how severe of a reduction do you have, and kind of weighing all those pros and cons, decide if a mesh corset is for you. For me personally, I kind of just grin and bear the heat. It's really not that bad. So I just wear my regular corset liner with my satin corsets over top. Singing while corseted. So if you're a live singer and you'd like to wear a corset, this can get a little bit tricky. Reason being that most singing technique teaches that you sing using your diaphragm, right? You use your diaphragm to push and expel that air out when you sing, and this is oftentimes considered the healthiest way of singing. And the issue here is that the most resistance of a corset is applied at the waist, at the level of the diaphragm. So singing in a corset is not necessarily ideal, but it is not impossible. There are many people who do it. In fact, if you've ever seen a play or a musical on Broadway, you know that there are many stage plays and musicals that are set in different time periods where corsets were worn, and naturally the performers in these shows are put into corsets. So what can you do to facilitate singing in a corset? I think the first thing you can do is wear a corset with a minimal or softer reduction. You don't want to have a intense 4 to 6 inch reduction when you have to be belting an opera number. So do a reduction that's maybe 2 to 3 inches, something that will bring in your waist, give you some shape, but won't apply so much pressure that your diaphragm is rendered, sort of useless. Another thing I would recommend is wearing a corset with more of an hourglass shape so that it cups the ribs, whereas something like a conical corset would apply pressure on the ribs, and this will limit how much your ribs can expand. Another thing you could do is wear a waspy corset. A waspy is much shorter and oftentimes will even cup just right below the ribs. So this allows your ribs to expand almost as much as they need to intake all of that air. Now, that being said, if there's still pressure being applied to the waist, some of your singing may be coming more from your chest than from your diaphragm. However, it can definitely still be done. I've definitely seen a lot of performers do it. Again, not ideal, but when you want that cinch, you want that cinch. So those are a few tips and tricks you can get around for singing in a corset. Can corsets become part of my day wear? Absolutely they can. I love wearing corsets during the daytime. I'm self-isolated at home because of the pandemic, so I don't really go out anywhere. But prior to the pandemic, if it was out shopping, out with friends, out to lunch or dinner, to the club, even out to Disneyland, I would almost always wear my corset because it's just something I really enjoy. I love the silhouette it gives me. I receive a lot of compliments, a lot of curious questions, because it is a little bit of an extreme silhouette. I cinch pretty severely. And yeah, it was just something really fun and really different, and I just love it. So I don't think there's any reason you can't make it a part of your day wear. I usually wear my corset underneath my clothes, and I have different belts for different outfits, and I'll just throw a belt over my outfit and cinch it down so it brings my outfits, my dresses, whatever I'm wearing for the day, down to the size of the waist of the corset that's underneath. So yeah, it gives a pretty extreme silhouette, and it's a look that I really enjoy, and I can't wait to get back out into the world and wear my corsets more regularly again. Our next question is, I am on testosterone. Will wearing a corset affect my progress? Now, in any case related to, a medical question, my first and foremost suggestion is that you consult with your doctor if this is a concern that you have. I am not a doctor, so I can only tell you what I know about corsets, but not necessarily a proper medical perspective of testosterone and how the corset may affect that. That being said, corsets very, very, very rarely can actually alter your body. It is possible to alter the shape of the body with corsets, but to achieve this, it takes a very, very strict regimen of wearing the corset. This is essentially someone who has to wear their corset 24/7, pretty much, for a very extended period of time. I would say many, many, many months at least, before you start to see the body beginning to change, meaning the ribs coming in, the waist coming in. It is possible, but it's very, very difficult and takes a very strict regimen of corset wearing. And the other thing about it is that someone who corsets to that extent, once they take the corset off, if they stop wearing it, their body will slowly return back to its original shape. So corsets are great for shaping the body when you're in them, but as far as permanently altering the body, it's pretty difficult to do. So I highly doubt that corseting would affect your progress if you are on testosterone. But again, that's definitely something to ask your doctor. This concludes our questions for today. Thank you for submitting, and I hope you found some of these answers helpful in your corseting journey. My name is Vander Von Odd, and until next time, bye.